Hello, my name is Kent Philpott. This is the second video in the series on the third heaven. I'm contrasting the visions of the Apostle Paul and Kat Kerr. And in a paper that I've written, I'm on page 2, and I will begin reading that right now. So this is part 2, the second video of probably what will end up being 4 videos. So we've been talking about Paul and his statement to the Corinthian church that he had been to the third heaven. And now we're into a part of the paper that says a common sense view. The first heaven consisted, and this is in the Jewish way of looking things, consisted of the clouds and the air that humans breathe. The second heaven held the lights above the clouds, the sun, the moon, and the stars. The third heaven was where God dwelt, his abode. The foregoing is a generalized way that Jewish people conceived of what was above them. God was above them, far away, and transcended over them, yet with them at the same time. Paradise was considered the same as the third heaven. In other words, those are synonyms. Paradise is a loan word, in other words, derived from the Persians, and it means garden, and was a reference to the garden where God walked and talked with Adam and Eve. So fellowship was restored. When fellowship would be restored with the Creator, that would take place in paradise, the dwelling place of God. So third heaven and paradise are really the same thing. Caught up, a word that Paul used to describe this going to the third heaven. Paul, referring to himself in the third person and therefore in a humble fashion, was caught up to the third heaven. He did not know whether he was in the body or out of the body. He simply did not know. Not too much should be made of Paul's inability or refusal to be more concrete. The distance between his experience and mechanisms used by shamans for vision questing is very great. Despite the other visions to which Paul referred to, and you'll have to go back to the other video to see this, this is the only time he reports being in the presence of God or in the third heaven. My opinion is that Paul's vision and revelation would be like other visions in the New Testament. For instance, John was, quote, in the Spirit on the Lord's Day when he received what we know as the book of Revelation in the New Testament. And we find John saying that in Revelation 1, verses 9 to 11. What in the Spirit means is uncertain, and it may or may not be the same as a vision. John was exiled to the Isle of Patmos by Roman authorities. Alone in a cave on a hillside grotto on that island, and tradition tells us, he saw things that were heavenly, not earthly. He reports it as though he turned and saw a real-life play set before him. Paul's experience simply happened to him. He did describe the incredible content of the vision. 3, it would do harm to do so. 4, To reveal the sum and substance of the vision would make him sound like he had lost his mind. Whether it was, and the short list may miss it all, whichever it was, Paul never revealed anything other than the fact that he had seen a vision. I'm going to continue just a little bit more here. Kat Kerr, turn to her now. I don't know her. I have nothing against her. I simply am challenging what she's saying, that's all, which we as Christians have a right to do because we're all a part of it and we have an opportunity to speak our piece. Kat Kerr, a 60-year-old woman living in Florida and sporting pinkish dyed hair, in obedience to God's command, she insists, wrote the above-titled book, which is called Kat Kerr, Revealing Heaven, an Eyewitness Account. So the book is called Revealing Heaven, an Eyewitness Account. In it, she reports not on her visions, but upon her direct encounters, including conversations with the Father in heaven while she's in the throne room. Kerr is radically different from Paul in that she freely talks about what she sees and hears. There is no hesitancy on her part, unlike Paul. It is apparent that her mission is to communicate what she experienced in her visions to the throne room. On one occasion, the Father escorted her via time travel, or what some would call astral travel, to the very time when Jesus was crucified. She says she was right there at the cross of Calvary. Not only that, she was there at the resurrection. Wow, not even the shamans have been as brazen as that. She visits various persons' loved ones in order to bring back reports on their status in heaven. Here is where she is closely identified not only with the shamans but also with psychics and mediums of the occult branch of Spiritism. Always she reports that the departed are securely saved and well, much to the comfort of the bereaved. In one instance, according to Kerr's testimony, a person who had lost a loved one was surprised to hear of that person being in heaven at all. She reports that every human being has at least one guardian angel that comes to be with him or her at the moment of conception. These angels go with the believer all along the road of life, helping, rescuing, and at death accompanying the faithful departed all the way to heaven. She learned that if a person had done bad things while on earth, the guardian angel is owed an apology upon arrival in heaven. Sometimes, however, she says that Jesus personally does the work of escorting to heaven, at least for those who have been especially faithful. Heaven, she reports, is within the created universe and has streets of gold as John of the Revelation saw. There's a lot more that she describes. I'm just giving the highlights. In so many ways, Kerr is biblically sound and presents a standard gospel message which is firmly in the Arminian stream as opposed to Reformed. I listened carefully to a lot of her material, and every once in a while she will break into what I could only describe as generally biblically orthodox views and biblical statements, which makes it more difficult because of her connection with sound biblical theology in general, not completely in my view. It muddies the waters and it makes an evaluation more difficult. It's hard to say then that she has missed the mark when it comes to this visions of heaven, going to the third heaven and so on. This is a difficult thing, and I would not undertake to do this unless I was convinced that here she's dealing in error. She recounts her own conversion experience at the age of 4, then again at age 5 when she prayed the sinner's prayer just to be sure. She is of a Pentecostal persuasion, and her rapidly growing audience is primarily among the Charismatics and Pentecostals. That's going to bring me to the end of part 2, and I'll end up with one more video coming up.